Welcome to the Unstuck Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Miner. This weekly no-fluff mindset show arms you with the practical tools you need to get unstuck so you can get exactly what you want out of life. Remember, when you change your mind, your life will follow. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Unstuck Podcast. And of course, thank you so much for joining me here today. We have another interview for you all today. I am loving doing these interviews, being able to share real, true stories from real life people who have probably gone through some things similar to what you may be going through or have gone through or know someone who has gone through, and how they have used the power of their minds to get them to a different place. And it's so fascinating how all these stories that I will bring you with the interviews that we do and the guests we have on the Unstuck Podcast, I think we're going to keep coming across the same concept, the same theme, which is that we took and goes for me too, and my story that I've shared with you here, we all have gotten to this place where we just had enough and we just realized there was something more out there that we weren't yet doing. And it got to the point where we kept exploring and we kept digging and we kept doing these things to get to where we are now, and really truly understanding and embracing how much more there is to healing your body, to finding a way out, finding a better life, whatever it is that you're looking for besides just the physical form. And this, in particular goes with the theme for today's guest, who is a colleague and a friend of mine, and just someone that has experienced similar things to me. And really, when it comes to the physical body and the health of the physical body, and understanding and finally getting to a place of realizing that energy and mindset work and vibration all come into play when you are truly healing the body. So we'll get into that here in just a minute. First, let me introduce you to our guest, Christina Rice. She is a nutritional therapy practitioner like myself, a primal health coach, and Reiki practitioner. She's the blogger behind christinaricewellness.com, host of Realness podcast, and creator of the Paleo Women Lifestyle Program. Christina uses a holistic approach to help clients from all over the world live their healthiest lives and address different obstacles such as digestive issues, eating disorders, weight loss and weight gain, hormonal imbalances, amenorrhea, mindset around food and fitness, and more. She also helps clients overcome emotional and energetic blocks through Reiki healing. And today we're going to get into all of that. We're going to hear more about her story and her journey. We're going to learn more about Reiki, more about chakra healing, all the good stuff. It's such an awesome episode, and I hope you really enjoy it. And just to let you know, we did have a little bit of connection issue. So there are a few points in the episode where it starts breaking up a little bit. So I apologize for that. It won't happen in the future. I'm trying to figure out what the root cause of that was. But just know there's still some really good stuff in here that you're going to want to check out. So let's get going. Christina, thank you so much for coming on the Unstuck Podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
I am so excited to chat with you too, because we have been kind of in the same sphere for a long time. You are also a nutritional therapy practitioner, but more so, we just have a ton in common about our own personal stories and experiences and health issues, and just a ton of stuff that I think we've kind of gone through together and gone through this journey and learned almost from each other. And it's just been such an interesting path to see us both kind of evolve from this into more of a energy healing place and working more on mindset shifts and energy shifts and things like that. So I'm really excited for you to share your perspective, things that you've learned along the way with the Unstuck listeners today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to share it as well. And I think this is a common theme with a lot of practitioners in this space right now, where we spend a good amount of time talking about the nutrition and surface level lifestyle factors. And especially for those of us who go through our own chronic health issues, we start to realize that the mindset piece, spirituality piece is such a big factor. And I think it's really interesting in the space right now, seeing how many people are kind of following a very similar trajectory where now we're shifting into mindset work. I mean, that's just a testament to how important this is.
Yeah, it's so true. It really is kind of the next phase, I think, for so many of us practitioners, because I think we all kind of have come up against this same wall where it's like we're helping clients, we're sharing our stories, we're sharing what worked for us. And so personally and then professionally too, it's like we get to this point where we've only gotten so well, like we've done the
Mhm.
work, we're feeling better, but there's still that thing. Like there's still something that's not quite lining up for both ourselves and the people we're working with and the people we're kind of having our own circles. And so then it's like, okay, we need to keep digging a little further. There's got to be something else here. And I think that's been the case for both of us. So I want to start from the very beginning with you, because I think that initial kind of health issue that you came into is really a fascinating one. So, share with us, first of all, share with us a little bit about who you are and your background, but then also dive into what it was like when you first started feeling not so well.
Yeah, well, it's quite the story, and I mean, I'm grateful for the journey because it inspired me to become a nutritional therapy practitioner and then later led me to Reiki. But my whole life, I struggled with severe digestive issues. I just didn't know that it was a problem. I thought everybody was bloated and constipated. And I also struggled with depression and anxiety starting from about age of 12, and that hit its peak when I was about 20 in college. And I also, came down with a bad case of chronic mono. For about a year and a half, I had mono. I was on antibiotics for almost my whole life. Like it was just
Mm,
constantly on antibiotics. I took Advil 5 times a day, every day for 5 years. So, I was just destroying my gut and my mentally, I was not doing well. Physically, I was not doing well. In college, my depression got really bad and I fell into binge eating. And my way out of it was just basically deciding, hey, I want to start trying to be healthy for once in my life. So I go on that path and I start cleaning up my diet a little bit and I start exercising and I started feeling a lot better, but I became very well aware of the fact that my digestive issues were not normal. It was not normal to only poop once a month.
mm,
So and I was in severe pain. And, the better you eat, the more aware you are of when you're having symptoms, I think.
mhm,
Um, so, long story short, with that time period, basically, I don't know. I ate some froyo and that triggered me. It was definitely a parasitic infection. Now looking back, I know that, but I was really sick for about a week, and that just triggered this extreme weight loss. So I stopped absorbing my food, and I lost about 50 pounds in 3 months.
mm,
And I was at a really, really low weight. And I had to drop out of college for a bit to take care of my health. And there was a journey during this where at first I didn't realize how much weight I had lost. I wasn't taking it very seriously. And then my health was just declining. Um, to the point where I realized I'm like, I could die, and
mm,
my doctors, my nutritionists are telling me I could die. So then I'm seeing all of these different doctors, all these different specialists, literally every day from 8 to 5. I mean, I dropped out of school for this to be my job and I'm trying to get help. And everyone's just telling me they don't know how to help me. I'm running all these tests. I'm in clinical trials. It was a crazy time. And everyone says, I don't know how to help you, or you're lying, you're anorexic, you're not eating
mm.
food. And I was working with a nutritionist and we were tracking my food and I was eating 8 to 10,000 calories a day, but I'm 73 pounds
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was losing weight and I've never felt so broken. I've never felt so broken. And it was hard physically and emotionally. I lost pretty much all of my friends. I felt extremely isolated. You know, I'm out in LA by myself. It was a huge hit to my ego to have to drop out of school, you know, being a perfectionist my whole life, my straight A student. And it was hard when in the same day I would get skinny shamed on the street, yelled at, food thrown at me, food ordered to my table, and 3 hours later asked by someone at the store if I would model because they're a photographer.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was just all these conflicting messages, and I had severe body dysmorphia. And I mean, looking back, it just shocks me because I remember what I saw when I looked in the mirror, but that's not what I looked like now that I see photos. It's a completely different person. And during that time, I kind of just had to face this point where, you know, there was many times when I was very close to committing suicide because I just felt like no one believed me. Everyone hated me. That's how I felt. I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
was in it alone, and I didn't know what to do because I was eating all the food and still losing weight. And I just felt like my life was out of control.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I had lost everything I cared about. And so I had to dig deeper and find purpose. So I tuned in and I started meditating and doing yoga, journaling, and just like finding myself. And that period of time just like transformed my whole personality. And I started approaching life in a completely different way. And I did a ton of my own research. This is how I fell in love with nutrition, because I learned about gut health and I healed my gut. I did, you know, all this research. I changed my diet and I slowly like fixed things. And I reached a high enough weight where I could go back to school. My body was functioning again. I felt like better about myself, and that just changed the way I looked at the world and the way I looked at life, and changed my interactions. And I'm really grateful for that. But so after that, I found a functional medicine doctor who really helped me get to the bottom of things, and found out that, you know, I had SIBO and the candida, and I had 3 parasites. And it was kind of over the period of a few years, I found all of this out. And, you know, I had heavy metals toxicity. I was dealing with some genetic SNPs that were causing big issues like the CBS mutation. And it was kind of an up and down over the years where I would have a gut infection, get rid of it, it would come back, get rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
it would come back, up and down. And I just felt like, when is this going to end? Like, I have everything dialed in. I eat the cleanest diet I know. I was so strict. I have everything with my lifestyle in place. I'm doing all the right things. And it wasn't there. And it wasn't working. And so it was maybe 2 years ago now, and I reached another really low point with my health. And that was hard for me because this time I felt kind of just as bad as I had the first time I got really sick, but because I looked quote normal to the outside world, I felt like no one was listening to me, and I
Mm-hmm.
was just getting dismissed. And I, at this time, just started turning to spirituality a bit more. You know, I was still living in Los Angeles, and I had been exposed to that whole world, but I didn't really look into it. But my old functional medicine doctor had started sending a lot of his patients to different energy healers. And that piqued my interest because he's such a science-based guy. And, you know, he works in the ER.
Mm-hmm.
um he does a great job of integrating Western and Eastern medicine. And I thought, I literally have nothing to lose at this point. Like, I will do anything. I'm so sick of being sick. So I started seeing different energy healers and just testing it out and seeing what happened. And I started feeling different, and I started learning to tap into my intuition. I basically had a dream in which I was told I need to explore Reiki. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to follow this. So I signed up for a course to learn about Reiki. And then it was funny because like the week after, I had this energy healer come to my house, and I thought she was going to feng shui it. Like my friend goes, oh, have this girl feng shui it. She walks in and she's looking around my apartment, and she goes, oh, are you studying Reiki? Because I had a book about Reiki out. And I said, yeah, like I had this dream about it. I want to learn more about it. I think maybe I want to become a practitioner. And she goes, oh, well, I'm a Reiki master. And I just knew, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to study under you. So I studied under her for a few months, which I'm really glad for that experience, because traditionally to become a Reiki practitioner, I mean, you can just go to a weekend workshop and like
Mm-hmm.
become certified, but I really loved that spiritual mentorship. And I learned about a lot more outside of just the the Reiki. It was just energy work in general. And then I started becoming interested in brain retraining. So I and then I found out that I had mold. I had mold illness. And so I'm like, okay, I got to get out of my apartment. And I just felt like it was a time in my life I needed a transition. So I moved to San Diego, got out of that apartment, started this program to rewire my brain. And between that and the energy work I was doing, I just felt completely different. My mindset changed, my personality changed, and huge improvements. And I was really excited because I felt like this was so useful, especially for me, but also with my clients, where I see so many people who are doing everything right, but they're still sick. And it's like, okay, obviously we have to go further. So that's really exciting to discover how you can go further, right? And realizing that, hey, if we do this energy work, if we change our mindset, you can get physical changes in your body. Like you're still sick because you haven't done the underlying work. So that was really eye-opening for me. And then, I'd gotten better, and then I don't know what happened, but then it got worse again. So it was like, once again, this up and down, up and
Yes.
down. And this led me into a place of even more so like, I need to go deeper with this. I leaned into my spirituality. I basically stopped most of what I was doing. I had to go deeper, and I started exploring things like human design and astrology, and just really trying to understand myself as best I could, and learning to surrender, because I was doing a lot of the work, but I still think there was this underlying theme of like, I hadn't totally surrendered. Like I was still trying to fix it. I was still trying to fix myself. I was trying to force getting healthy instead of just surrendering and like trusting my intuition and leaning into my mindset work. And I think getting so sick, I started a protocol for Lyme and mold, and my herxing was really bad. It was tough, but it forced me to slow down and kind of realize what I wanted to prioritize and what I didn't, and to tune in. And once again, I got a dream that I had a dream
Wow.
where basically my guides told me like, you don't need a doctor, because I had gotten in with like one of the top like functional medicine doctors with mold, and I was really excited to work with her. And she kind of just, after 2 sessions, she goes, I can't do anything for you. And it was really bizarre. And I thought, wow, this reminds me of 5 years ago when every doctor just told me I can't help you. Like that's really hard to hear, you know? So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to lean into it again, because looking back, every time I just focus on myself and I do the internal work, I get better. So I did that, and I just said, I'm going to stop doing the supplements. I'm going to stop doing the treatments. I'm going to stop all this stuff. And some of it did really help me, but I'm going to stop depending on a doctor to tell me when I know my own body. And I followed my intuition with which physical treatments I needed, and I just started doing a lot more energy healing, focusing a lot on my mindset work. And in the last, really, I would say the last like month and a half, it was like a light switch turned on, and I feel like a completely different person. And this is like what I knew was going to happen, because like that's that's a download I kept getting over and over. It was like, you're just going to heal. Like you're just going to wake up and feel better. And I thought, how is that going to happen? And what was interesting is, I love talking to different psychics. And I like 3 or 4 different psychics told me the same thing. They're like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I see you just waking up feeling better.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's fascinating. So let me just wait for it. And I waited for it, and it happened. And I think there's always work to be done, but I think especially this new energetic shift coming into 2020, like I'm ready for it. And I felt like 2020 is going to be a new year, rebirth, like we're leaving everything behind in the last decade. And I felt it physically. And right now I feel better than I have in, probably ever.
Wow.
So that has been kind of the journey. And along that journey was, ups and downs with my body image and learning all of that. And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. I started off in at a comfortable weight, I felt like. And then going into college, I dropped all of that weight, and it was very eye-opening for me, because I'm realizing no matter what weight I'm at, someone's going to have something to say. And I'm definitely not any happier the thinner I get, even though society wants to tell me if I get skinnier, I'll be happier. That's not true. And then with the mold, putting on so much extra inflammation weight, and then you feel like, I don't feel like I'm in my body. Like I feel like an outsider in my own body. And it's like learning to finally just surrender and be like, my body knows what it needs. And I am a soul. Like I'm not my body. Right. And I think that whole journey is something that it's a really beautiful experience, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And as soon as we fully surrender, like we can just appreciate where we're at. So that's been the journey.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's about 1,000 things that I want to
Mhm.
talk about within that journey, but just starting with that, yeah, I really, and it was a situation very similar to mine where you just get to a point where you have to just understand that you are not your body. There
Mhm.
is a very clear separation. You are a soul, you are a spirit, you have a vehicle taking you through this human experience, which is amazing that you have the opportunity to do this, but that's not you. And when you can separate that, and it really truly is surrendering. And I love that you brought that word up, because that is just so much of this mindset work is just surrendering and understanding. Even like your thoughts are just thoughts. They have
Mhm.
they're just words. They have no meaning. They have nothing connected to them until you make that happen, right?
Mhm.
Or your mind makes that happen. So, and it's, all based on beliefs and everything like that. So it's just when you really do understand what it means to surrender and
Mhm.
actually do it. And I think it's very similar. Everyone's journey is going to be very similar in that it takes kind of like this rock bottom place to truly understand what surrendering means and feels like.
I totally agree. And I mean, I hate to say that because I would never want someone to reach rock bottom,
Right.
but it's also the biggest blessing because I mean, it forces you to feel what surrender feels like.
Mm.
And this, I think this idea shows up in so many parts of our lives, whether you're trying to heal from a sickness, you're trying to lose extra weight, you're trying to make more money, you're trying to bring in the right relationship. Like when we are resisting, we're not surrendering, we're resisting, we're trying to force things, it's not going to come.
Mhm.
And I think a really simple example of this is, let's talk about finding the right partner, bringing in love. So if a lot of people will say, I'm not going to date right now, I'm just going to focus on myself, the right person will come around, but they don't really mean it. They're still
Mhm.
secretly hoping that the right person's
Oh,
going to come
totally.
around the corner. They haven't actually fully given up on it. They're saying that. Maybe they're trying to convince themselves they feel that way, but they don't really. But then as soon as somebody really just has a really bad breakup or just so over it and they fully actually feel the surrender, like I've been through this many times, the next week the right person might just walk into your life because you
Yep.
fully surrendered. So I think it's important to realize this shows up in all aspects of our lives, and we just have to trust. I think it's just rooted in trust, and I think it's really hard for us as humans to fully trust our bodies and our intuition, and just that things can work out, because life doesn't have to be hard. I think we make it hard because we resist so much and we
Mhm.
try and force it to go a certain way.
Mhm.
And it's really messed up how I think we're just kind of taught to not love ourselves like from a
Yeah.
young age.
And to not
And
have even trust or use our
yes,
intuition or just be okay with being okay and being in the present
yes,
moment. There's always just this go, go, go mentality and having these to-do lists and trying to strive to be better and better and better. And it really ends up doing the complete opposite.
100%. And I think that's why it's so hard for people to tap into their intuition. It's really
Mhm.
sad how we all have it, right? But we
Mhm.
just fall out of getting in touch with it.
It's so true. It's so true. I want to go back. Something that really stuck out with me in your story is that you were already dealing with depression at age
Mhm.
12.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how that happened, how that came to be I mean, that's a really young age to already feel those emotions, those intense emotions.
Yeah, I felt very intense emotions. And I think there are a few factors at play. I think things in my life, trauma in my life, but and also physical issues. I don't think it's a coincidence that, you know, I had such severe gut issues and mental health issues, because I've learned, like, you know, as I clear up parasites and SIBO and all this bacteria, my mood changes, right? So I think that was a factor. I think that as a child, I was very outgoing and opinionated and vivacious, and I was too much. I was told I was too much. I was put down. I was told to stop talking. And I mean, I was emotionally constipated and physically constipated, you know, so I think that
Pretty
tied into it.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was told by my environment, all the people in my life, like, you're too much. Like, I mean, really from the age of around like 12 through 18, when I was home in my house, I just didn't speak because I felt like I couldn't talk without getting yelled at, or I was too much. I would say the wrong thing. I became very introverted. And I think that that played a big role in it. I think also for me at school, feeling like the outsider, feeling different. There was a lot of bullying at my school, and it's interesting because I just feel like I had this existential crisis from that age, because I remember telling telling my mom, trying to explain to her, like, why am I here? Like, I don't understand what I'm doing here. Like, I just go to school, I study, I do homework. I I don't feel like I have any deep connections. Why am I on this earth? And it was this very deep question, this very deep struggle I was dealing with. And, you know, when you're saying this when you're 12, all the adults in my life were just like, get over it.
Yep.
You know? So there was no exploration of that struggle. And I think that that played a big role in it. I think I felt very dismissed. I think my perfectionism played it. It was very much, I was hoping my parents would pay attention to me, and my parents love me very much. But they worked a lot, and I felt when I was younger that they paid more attention to my sister, and I think there was some subconscious, like, hey, I'm over here, remember me?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm sure she feels the opposite, right? It's all she probably thinks they spent
Yeah.
all their attention on me. But they worked a lot, and I think everybody in my family was kind of dealing with their own things, and I was exposed to a lot of addiction that I was around a lot. So I think that just made me kind of shell up,
Mm-hmm.
and I lost myself in that, and yeah, I became depressed, and I was just looking for a purpose, and I didn't find that purpose until I was 20 and so sick and hit rock bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and had to pull myself out, and then I wanted to share that with everybody else. So I think all of those factors played into it.
Yeah, I think it's so I mean, this is a perfect example of how your stuck energy, so stuck emotions, stuck even mental energy, then translates into literal physical symptoms that
Mhm,
mirror that.
mhm,
And it just
100%.
continues even to progress and progress and progress to eventually help you find your purpose and find the journey and find the path for you. So it has its purpose, of course, but it is so fascinating because, yes, we are very much in this society where when we have a physical symptom, we look and go towards that physical symptom and how can I relieve that? And we get prescription medications or we even take supplements or whatever. And
Mhm,
really, we're missing the boat on what energetically has happened to you or is still stuck within you, that
mhm,
you need to explore and you need to do that work. And there are so many, we'll talk women specifically, that have these similar experiences, even just like emotional and mental trauma from
mhm.
their earlier years that they just kind of stuff away and don't ever
Yeah.
explore that. And that's going to continue, of course, to keep you stuck, which is why this is called the Unstuck Podcast, because that exploration doesn't happen. It's just like this door is closed, and let me just continue to go towards my physical body, my physical body, my physical body, when it only gets you so far.
Yes, 100%. Oh, and this is why I love the chakra system, which I
Hmm.
know we wanted to talk about Reiki more. And this has a lot to do with the chakras, because so we have seven main chakras.
By the way, let me just
Yeah.
tell you, this is so meant to be. I'm so glad that you're bringing this up because I didn't even know we are going to talk about this. But just in an episode that was a few weeks ago, I was like, I don't know much about the chakras, but I do know that we have an energy body. So now this is perfect because you can explain this more.
Yeah, yeah. So we have an energy body. And so the idea with the chakra system, the reason why I love the chakras are because so we have 7 main chakras starting from, the root of our spine up to the top of our head. The top of our head is our crown chakra. We have our root chakra at the base of the spine. And these 7 main chakras all correspond to a certain color, but they correspond to parts of our lives, emotions we feel, as well as physical parts of the body. So this is why I felt Reiki was so powerful with many of my clients who were stuck and myself, because like, let's use the throat chakra, for example. The throat chakra is connected to the throat, the shoulders, the thyroid, and also connected to our sense of self-expression, our ability to communicate. And so a lot of people with thyroid issues think about what's the root there in terms of, do you feel like you're fully expressing yourself? What haven't you spoken up about? Is there any strange communication in your life? Like, what are you not communicating? And sometimes that's something that comes straight to mind. Sometimes that's something we have to dig deeper into, and it could be a childhood block where they weren't able to express themselves. There's a strained relationship with their father or their mother or a friend. They got in an argument and never got resolved. So exploring what's blocked with communication can help us unblock the energy of the throat chakra and relieve thyroid symptoms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's so fascinating because thyroid imbalances and issues are so common in women, but then
Mm-hmm.
also the lack of self-expression is so common in
Yes.
women. So
Yes.
that is not coincidence.
Yes. Well, and then this is also, so the solar plexus is our third chakra, and this is connected to the digestive system. So that is also related to our sense of self-confidence, personal power, autonomy, feeling a sense of purpose. And that's another common one too, right? Like, does somebody feel a sense of purpose? Do they have high self-esteem and high self-confidence? There's a very strong correlation. People have digestive
Mm-hmm.
issues when they don't have self-confidence. And I think that's why digestive issues are one of the reasons why digestive issues are so common, because I mean, cultivating true self-confidence is work. Like,
Oh, yes.
that's not something that is easy to get to, right? So, working on that part of their lives, or even the autonomy piece, if somebody feels like they're dependent on a specific person or everybody else, they just don't feel that sense of autonomy, that can manifest as digestive issues.
Mm-hmm.
Or the third one that I find is most common, especially with hormonal imbalances, would be the sacral chakra. So this is connected to our reproductive system. So, I work with a lot of women with amenorrhea, but this could be any type of hormonal imbalance. And if your reproductive system is having any type of issues, this is connected to our sense of sexuality, and passion. So this could be passion sexually or creatively. Also, our family, our relationship with our family, and any past life trauma. We store it in the sacral. So this is kind of, I mean, I talk about this all the time, like on my podcast, where a lot of these women who have their periods missing and they think they're doing everything right, we start getting them to tap into their sexuality and explore that side of themselves, and they get their period right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one example, but if you have any type of hormonal imbalance, like, do you experience love? Do you experience passion? Or maybe it's creative passion. If you have some type of passionate outlet in your life, or how are your family dynamics? These are all things to explore. So I think that's why I love the chakra system, because it forces us to really face those parts of our lives, and we can't avoid it anymore, right? It's
Right.
manifesting physically.
Right. So true. I love learning about that stuff. And it is like just undeniable
Mm-hmm.
connections and correlations. And it gives someone who wants to heal their physical body, it gives them something else to start considering. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
oops, that
Yes.
part. Yeah, it's so, so cool. All right. I want to, before we get into more of this intuition Reiki talk, I just really want to know more. This is something I find totally fascinating about your story is being thin shamed.
Mm-hmm.
That I just can't even imagine, especially that age, being in your 20s and, when it's very important to kind of look the part or feel like you fit in and you're in college and that kind of thing. And then you start going through this process where you're ill, but then people aren't understanding you.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, there's so much talk about fat shaming. And I imagine the feeling and the emotion is so similar to
Mm-hmm.
being thin shamed when people think something different. They think you're doing this to yourself when it's something wrong, like something is physically wrong, and you're ill. So, how was that?
Oh man, that was tough. I just remember thinking, I never thought I would be in this position. Like, you never think you can get too skinny, like, and it gave me so much compassion for people who struggle with eating disorders. And it made me realize how it's so interesting what strangers think is okay to say.
Yeah.
And when you're in that position, you just never think like, I never thought I would deal with body shaming. Like, is this me? Right? Like,
Mhm.
and especially when people are shaming you for something that's out of your control. And I would get triggered very easily where I told this story on another podcast, but I have a family member who just always likes to make a comment about my weight. And I remember at that time he made a comment and he was just like, why can't you just eat some damn cheeseburgers? And I just went downstairs and I started crying because I was like, if it was that easy, don't you think I would do it?
Mhm.
Don't you think if it was that easy, I'm doing everything I can to try and heal myself. I'm seeing every specialist. I'm spending all of my money, all of my savings on this, and no one can help me. And I think it's very eye-opening because, at first I'm losing weight and I liked it. I thought, oh, I didn't even know I had weight to lose. I'm getting all of these positive comments from people.
Mhm.
People at work. So I mean, context, right? I'm in college. I am living in Los Angeles. I'm working at a fashion PR company, and I am also working at a health and wellness PR company. So I'm kind of like in this space, and everyone there is telling me I look amazing.
Mm.
And my friends are telling me, "Oh, you look so good. You lost your baby fat." My bosses at work are asking me what I'm doing. Can I share my exercise routine? What diet am I following? And I'm thinking, oh, cool, like this is good. And for the first time in my life, I was getting attention for the way I looked, and I liked that. And then I go home, I visit home, and everyone's like, "You look sick. What's wrong with you?" And I go out in public, and I feel like people are looking at me like a zoo animal. So
Mhm.
I'm very self-conscious. And like I was saying before, in the same day, somebody could compliment me and ask me to model, and somebody could, like, literally, I've had food thrown at me many times, and I've had food ordered to my table many times, just like, you need to eat more food. And it just made me feel like I can't, I can't believe strangers do this. And also made me think a lot more about this extreme pressure our society puts on women to be thinner. And because I wasn't 73 pounds the whole time, right? There's a period of, you lose the weight and then also gaining the weight. So I've been a lot of different weights, and just this experience of, no matter what weight I'm at, someone has something negative to say. And no matter what weight I'm at, I never hit a weight where I felt totally happy. The thinner I got, the more unhappy I was. And even when I hit what I thought was my ideal weight, you know, I I had no cognition. My hair was falling out. I mean, I had no period. Like, I had no health, and my relationships were crap. I didn't have any quality relationships in my life.
Mhm.
Um, I'm grateful for that experience because I felt like I was able to start offering a voice to a population of people who don't often get spoken up for.
Mhm.
And there's a whole population of people who struggle with being malnourished, and they lose a lot of weight, and they can't control it. Or even, when people have a mental illness, if somebody struggles with anorexia, like, we are in no place to shame anyone for any, we don't know what they're going through. We don't know what's going on. And I started speaking up more about the skinny shaming, and I just think that's something that people don't talk enough about. And it's not okay to fat shame, it's not okay to skinny shame. And I think people need to be a lot more aware of the comments they make in general, because I think people think it's okay to make a comment about someone being a certain weight. And as I was putting on weight and like getting better, people always will make comments like, "Oh, you put on a lot of weight."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, this isn't making me feel good either.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just made me a lot more aware of people's language, and also how conscious a lot of people are about weight in general, just other people's weight.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
it's
like there's
very,
always something to say. It's so
yeah.
many of the comments that we make about others, even if it's nice, is
Hmm.
about their body.
Yeah.
And it's once you realize how often you do it or how often other people do it to you or whatever, it's like, why are we doing that? What good is that going to do? There's so many other things that we could say about this person if we haven't seen them for a while or, like
Mm.
are greeting them. It's so fascinating that that is what we now turn to as a society. And then, of course, there's also the other end of the stick where we also feel like we can say negative things to people about their body,
Mhm.
whether it's that they need to eat more or eat less or lose weight or gain weight. It's just so fascinating. And what a lesson in just you don't know what someone else is going through. You don't know their story. So don't say anything, like stay out of it.
Yeah, and I so this is like a story, but a lot of people from back home, like I'd gone to college, so a lot of people from back where I grew up, from high school, middle school, started sending pictures around about me,
Mm,
like doing a before and after and saying Christina's anorexic. And it was like this big thing in my hometown. And I didn't really know what was going on until later. And this is a lot of my friends just stopped talking to me because they didn't want to talk to the anorexic girl, because that's what everybody assumed,
mhm,
instead of asking me what was going on. And it just really upset me. And I started hearing some of the things that people were saying about me, people who I thought were my friends. And I, as I started to get better and I went back to school, I was running an online magazine at UCLA called Her Campus. It's a women's magazine, and I was the editor. And as the editor, you don't write articles, you just edit
mhm,
and you assign articles. And I wrote an article and I published it without approval, so I got in trouble. But
mhm.
whatever, it ended up being the most read article on all of Her Campus throughout the United States
Wow.
for a solid week. And it was, I forget exactly what it was called, but it was called like "Stop the Skinny Shaming" or something,
Mm,
where I explained my whole story. And I explained, like, I have been dealing with these severe health issues. I've been so afraid, and people are skinny shaming me. And after I published that and it blew up and all these people saw it, I got literally hundreds of text messages, Facebook messages from people who just like acquaintances, friends from school, everybody literally saying, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what was going on.
mm,
I shouldn't have said anything." And I really appreciated that. And that wasn't, it's like I don't need everybody to apologize to me, but what I need is awareness. Like I just want everybody to be more aware of their language, and how we can't just throw out comments about other people's bodies, because like what we all want is just to be seen, right? And like I
right.
don't need to be seen for my body. I need to be seen for my soul, and like who I am and what I'm doing in the world. And I just think that everybody kind of, we could all improve ourselves if we are more aware of what we say and what we start to pay attention to. Because if I'm somebody who makes comments about other people's bodies, that just speaks volumes about me. That's just my own insecurity. But that was definitely, I mean, that was kind of like a big ordeal. And I'm really glad I published that article, because I think it made a lot of people step back and think about what they say. And I responded to everybody who reached out to me, and I said, "Hey, I appreciate you apologizing, but like I don't, and I forgive you, but I don't need that. What I need is for you moving forward to start thinking more about what you say about other people and how
Mhm.
you view them." Um, so I think, I mean, I just think that whole experience taught me a lot of lessons and gives me so much more compassion for anyone around me and how they physically look, because you just never know what someone's going through. So, I mean, it doesn't matter.
And it probably was a great like stage for you to have this more compassionate sense with your own body, and just
Mm-hmm.
you knowing now that no matter what weight you are, it doesn't bring you more or less happiness, and it doesn't mean that more or less people are going to stop saying things about you. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
just your weight is not you, and your body's not you, so it was part of that process too.
Yeah. And I think I really like that. I mean, that's probably not the right word, but having kind of gone on both sides of the spectrum, like I
Hmm.
have a good idea of what my happy range is when I'm healthy with body weight. And like when I was in the depths of the mold illness, it's like an extra 40 pounds of like
Hmm.
inflammation. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, I'm like literally on the opposite side of this. Like I
Hmm.
never thought I would be, and I don't think that many people have that experience. Sean, you've had something similar where you've been
Hmm.
like on both sides of the spectrum, and it's very eye-opening because you see both sides and you feel like I felt like a foreigner on both sides of the spectrum.
Yes. Yes.
Um,
And nothing about you change, like there's no enlightenment
yeah,
that happens.
exactly.
It's
Nothing
like you're still
changes.
you.
Yeah.
So why do we put so much energy and effort into this one thing about us when it doesn't really actually change anything?
Exactly. And I mean, I was just talking to a client about this last night actually, and she was saying, I'm trying to I look in the mirror and I'm trying to accept myself. And I'm like, it's not about looking in the mirror and accepting yourself. Like, it doesn't matter what the mirror shows. It's about like just closing your eyes and like knowing your soul, and do you accept that?
Mhm.
Because when you do, it literally doesn't matter what the mirror looks like. And I think a behavior that I changed, that it took me a while to realize I had changed this, but this helped me so much, is I never look in the mirror. Like I've
Mhm.
noticed this with a lot of people. They just, anytime they walk by a mirror, they look. Or anytime they walk by a window, they look at themselves. People are in this habit of always looking, of just checking themselves, right? And seeing what they look like. And when I first initially got sick when I was like 20, I stopped that habit. And now, I mean, obviously when I'm putting on my makeup, I'm looking in the mirror, but when I walk by a mirror, I never look. And I'm really glad that I developed that habit, because that's saying something subconsciously about like where you derive your worth, I think. And that's where the shift is. It's like, what are we deriving our value from? Because you're not valuable based on how you look. That's nothing. And if you think it's that, then you're never going to be happy.
Yeah,
Um,
and once you can really get that into I mean, it's just amazing how things change.
yes.
It really is just amazing how you really end up seeing the world from a totally different perspective, and how things start falling into place too
Hmm.
at the same time, because you've given up that power. You've given over that power. You've surrendered, which is that word that you said that I'm loving now. So,
Hmm.
all right, let's move into more of this, how you got into the Reiki, and I want to learn more about that. I want kind of this overview for myself and for the listeners of what this is. But first, um, I want to know, because really your intuition led you here. It
Hmm.
led you through all this. So, how did you get to that point where you were tapped in enough to hear it and like explore it, like actually take it for what it was saying and do the thing?
Yeah, well, it's been a journey, and I think learning your intuition is like always, it takes time to grow it. But I honestly think working with other energy healers really helped me, because I was just so out of touch with my body, and especially when you're physically ill, it's kind of hard to tap in physically and know how your body is responding to something. So
Mhm.
for me, working with different types of energy healers, I would learn things from each of them, and start to make correlations like, oh, this person is saying this about me. Well, I noticed that. Like, I knew that, and kind of just paying attention to that, and setting the intention of tuning tuning out all the noise. I don't consume much media at all,
Mhm.
right? Like, stop listening to all the 500 podcasts, like, why am I scrolling through Instagram? Like, why am I reading 20 articles on Mind Body Green? Like, there's just so much noise.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so cutting down on anything I was consuming, cutting down on the number of people I was communicating with during the day, and like, nothing against them, but it was just, I needed more silence in my life. I needed more silence, more time to just sit. And I think it was really, it sounds so simple, but I needed time to just sit in silence and be, and start like being mindful of how does my body feel, and journal, and like what is in my head, because I think we go so often and we don't stop to tune in and be like, what am I feeling? What am I thinking?
Mm-hmm.
How's my body responding to this?
Mm-hmm.
And when I started to do that, I just set this intention of, hey, I don't know if this intuition thing is going to work, but I'm just going to try it out. Why not? And I started to learn about just following the leads, right? Like looking for signs, being open to signs, like literally saying out loud, hey, I'm open to signs. Please send me signs for what I should do about X, Y,
Mm-hmm.
and Z. And surrendering that and saying, I'll follow the signs, and like building that trust. And so for me, I mean, I know I get a lot of downloads in dreams, and that dream about the Reiki was just so strong. And I woke up and I thought, I mean, I have nothing to lose here, right? Like
Yeah.
I'll look into it. And I think just the way I saw that pan out, like, okay, I'm gonna look this up. I bought a book, and then my Reiki master comes in, and just from there, it was like thing after thing fell into place, and having that experience built up my trust muscle. And over time, I've learned how to tap more into my intuition, and like how and when I get downloads, and I'm open to signs now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm open to the signs, and when I meditate, I ask for advice, I ask for signs, and I get it, and I just trust and I follow the leads. Because sometimes people, I mean, this is with manifestation. People think, I'm going to manifest money, and then all of a sudden magically 10 grand's going to pop in my bank account tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. It means you can manifest 10 grand by, maybe next week your friend calls you with some opportunity to go to a party, and then you follow that, you go to the party, and then you meet somebody who has this business opportunity, and it's all about following clues.
It's the path. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the path. So that's a bit how I got there. I think working with other people really helped me.
I love it so much. So give us the Reiki 101.
Okay, Reiki 101. Reiki is a type of energy healing. So there's all different types of energy healing. And Reiki means universal life force energy. So people probably have heard of Qi. Sean, you've heard of Qi, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
in Chinese medicine. So it's
Yes.
all the same thing. It's just this universal life force energy. I think a lot of us can feel this energy around us. And I mean, everything is energy. We are energy, the objects around us are just all these vibrating molecules. Energy is here, like science can measure this.
Yes.
And so the idea with Reiki is that, we have this energy body, we have an aura around us, and we have energy flowing through our bodies. And when energy gets stuck out of balance, there's too much in one place, not enough in one, that can manifest as disease. Like dis-ease causes disease. So Reiki is this healing energy, this universal life force energy, where a Reiki practitioner will basically transfer that Reiki energy to your body, and it's a healing energy. And Reiki will shift the body's own energy so that it reaches realignment to where it naturally should be. And that helps with physical healing, emotional healing, spiritual healing. And so this is, with Reiki, I can run my hands over someone and see which chakras are out of balance. Is there heat in certain parts of their bodies? Is there coldness in some parts? Is their aura vibrating? It's kind of getting an energetic overview of what's going on with their energy body. And then the Reiki energy realigns everything. And when we're back in balance, when our chakras get back into balance individually and in balance with each other, then this is where healing happens. And it's just really facilitating the body's own natural healing, the same way that, with nutritional therapy, we work on root cause to help facilitate the body's natural healing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an overview. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Now, my question is, because it's all about the practitioner feeling the energy of this other person. So, can anybody and everybody do that? Is it some sort of special thing that you need to be able to do?
Yeah, no. So, okay. So the practitioner doesn't even necessarily have to feel it.
Okay.
I think so. Everybody is intuitive, but not everybody's fully tapped in. And I think certain people have, we all get intuition in different ways and have different abilities. So the way I perform Reiki is probably different than a lot of other practitioners. And
Mm-hmm.
I practice what I call intuitive Reiki because I'm intuitive work alongside the Reiki, but anybody can become a Reiki practitioner, because all you have to do is hold your hands over the different chakras, different parts of the body. And it's not you, like I'm not giving someone my energy. I'm giving them Reiki energy. So
Okay.
when you become a practitioner, it's called an attunement process, and a Reiki master will attune you to Reiki energy so that you can then start acting as a channel for that Reiki energy to someone else. So the Reiki practitioner, all they have to do is you learn to use different symbols, you learn what to do in the training,
Mm-hmm.
and you hold your hands over or on someone's body, in different areas, and you're acting as a channel for that Reiki energy, and that's it. So it's not about the practitioner. I think that sometimes it's helpful when the practitioner is just more intuitive because you get more information and more
Mm-hmm.
insight. Um, so I mean, it's just like with anything, some people can give you more information than
Yeah.
others.
Right.
um
But you can even do it from a distance, right?
oh yeah, you can definitely do it from a distance, and I actually find sometimes I think it's more effective from a distance,
Mm.
if someone's more, because people, when they don't have to come into an office, they're generally more relaxed. It can be in their PJs, and with intuitive work specifically, I find it easier when because the person is so comfortable.
Mm-hmm. That is so fascinating. It's very, very cool. Now, tell me, like, give me one story where you just have really, there's been like a massive shift in one of your clients because of this work,
Mm.
or maybe even in you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm trying to think of who would be the most massive shift. I mean, I've definitely had people come in and literally, and they've had amenorrhea for like 3 years
Mhm.
and 3 or 4 years, and then they get their periods back.
Wow. I
We
mean,
work on that.
that's pretty major.
Yeah, and that's not, I mean, there's nothing is guaranteed, right? But it really helps. And I think the shifts I love the most are, I'll have a client come in and look at where they're at in 6 months, and they've been doing it regularly, and their entire being is. So I have a
Yeah.
lot of people come in where all their chakras are out of balance and clogged. They have digestive issues. Their hormones are all out of whack, and their aura is like vibrating. They're so stuck in sympathetic state. Like they're just so stuck. And then I look at them 6 months later, and their aura is nice and flowing and light, and their body just feels all in balance. They know how to follow their intuition, and they've made this whole change, and they come, and it's usually not just a physical thing. Like
Mhm.
it's usually this emotional, spiritual mindset shift, because they start to realize how important it is to look at these different aspects of their lives, um, and do that deeper healing. But I there is a client that I had who, I mean, she's inspired me in so many ways, and she came to me for a combination of nutritional therapy and Reiki. And this is what I do with a lot of my clients now, is I combine them.
Mhm.
um and she came to me just like not buying into Reiki, super stuck in sympathetic state, and had, Lyme, mold, SIBO, parasites, like everything under the sun. And she was very similar to how I was a few years ago, where, she was very underweight. She was about 80 pounds. Um, and she just didn't buy into any of this. But she felt like I could maybe help her because I had a similar health history. And we started doing the Reiki. And at first it was like I felt like with her aura, with her energy body, I just couldn't get through. It was like she had this block, and it was like peeling away layers, helping her aura calm down, rebalancing her chakras. And within a few weeks, I just noticed this huge shift in her. Like, and she started to figure out, like, oh, this food's causing an issue, this food's not. She started learning to tap into that. And it was just a few months later where she started finally gaining weight. And I mean, she's been on this journey for like 7, 8 years,
Mm.
and has seen every doctor she can, Western, Eastern. And over the course of about 9 months, she's up like 30 pounds. A lot of her digestive issues are gone. She has energy. She can go back to work. Like, and she's a client who definitely stands out in my mind, because it was just so gratifying for me, like seeing someone who's been struggling for 7, 8 years and has done every alternative treatment. Like she's gotten a fecal matter transplant. She's gone to Mexico for experimental treatments. Like
Wow.
she's done everything. And, she tells me now, like we're very close now because she just gave me my life back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think that's one of the more profound ones.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, you literally changed her life. And even more so when it's someone that was not up for it originally,
Yes.
like not a believer. And then to see such a profound shift, that's just so cool. It all sounds so fascinating. And so you do this work. Tell us more about the work that you do with your clients.
Yeah, so I'm not seeing as many people one-on-one anymore for nutrition alone. So I really only am doing Reiki one-on-one, or if somebody wants to work with me kind of long term for this blend of nutritional
Mhm.
therapy, Reiki, mindset work, just because that's where I'm going to see the results. I just can't have someone do a one-off appointment and think they're going to get results,
Totally.
because I just understand now, like if I'm not doing the underlying work, I'm not doing anything. Um, so yeah, for a lot of my clients who are kind of in that longer term situation, we kind of will do like Reiki every other week, and then in between have like nutritional therapy sessions. That's just talking. um
Mhm.
Doing the mindset work, and so that seems to be really, really great. So with the one-on-one clients that I do see, it's one of those scenarios, and I love that blend. I love that blend. I felt super limited when I was just doing nutritional therapy, I think, because
Mhm.
I felt, and I'm sure you've experienced this, is like you feel the block. It's like the
Right.
person is doing everything right and they're not getting the results and they're frustrated, and there's something deeper, and it's like, how do I get this person to the next level? And
Yeah,
I think,
it's like the
yeah,
the clients coming it was like every client was like, "I'm feeling better, but" it's like that
yes,
but it's still there. It's not just like, "I'm feeling amazing." It's like, "I'm feeling better, but there's still something, and I'm doing everything right." That's
yeah.
when I was like, "Oh gosh, there's something more for you that we are not tapping into yet." Yeah, I feel it for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, because I think a lot of people are chasing health goals, like physical health goals. And that doesn't maybe it's weight loss, but maybe it's I want my bloating to go away. And
Yeah, oh yeah.
but it's because they think they're going to be happy when that
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah,
The thing is, like, it's not. Like, maybe all your bloating will go away, you'll have great bowel movements, you'll lose the weight, like you'll get your period back, but like, are you still going to be happy?
the same you're gonna feel the same. The
Yeah,
things that are going through your head are still going to go through your head until you do that work.
exactly.
Yeah.
And, until you have that experience, like, I mean, what a letdown when you finally
I
reach that
know,
goal.
right? You're
And
like,
you're like,
"Wait, I'm supposed to be a totally different person now."
exactly. And I'm like, no, you're the same. So, I mean, let's jump 20 steps ahead and just start with the mindset work, right?
Yes.
Let's just start with the
Yes.
underlying work, and you will reach your physical goals so much more quickly.
So
And
and so much easier.
yeah, and save so much money on
Yes.
supplements.
Yes, exactly. I could not agree more. Oh, Christina, this has been so great. I feel like we could just talk forever. There's just so much there. I want definitely want to have you come back and talk about this brain retraining that
Oh,
you
yeah, I would love to.
yeah, so we'll do that another time because that sounds really super cool. But tell people a little bit more about where they can find you and your information and your podcast and all that stuff.
Of course. Yeah. So you can find me at christinaricewellness.com. That's where my blog is. I have a membership portal there. You can find my services there as well. If you want a distance Reiki session, that's where you can apply to book. And if you're in San Diego, I see people in person as well. My podcast is called Wellness, Realness, and on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all the places. And I'm on Instagram at Christina Rice Wellness. And thank you so much, Sean, for having me on the show. I've loved chatting with you. And I love that you're doing this work. And I think this podcast you created is just so important. So I just want to thank you for this work that you're doing.
Oh, you're the sweetest. Yeah, well, I mean, same goes to you. Just knowing that we want to be in this space of helping people really and understanding what it really takes to get there with so many people. It takes a lot of our own struggle sometimes to get
Mhm.
there, but it makes it so worth it when we now have the ability to help others. So, same goes out to you. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you so much for being open and sharing your story and everything you went through. And I'm so excited to see what's next for you.
Thank you so much.